Being great at something requires concentration. It requires elimination. Seneca says, he who is everywhere is nowhere. If you want to be great at whatever it is you're doing, it means focus. Of all of the Stoics, Seneca is probably the most complicated. He's a brilliant philosopher. He also works for the Emperor Nero. He's incredibly rich, and yet he also endures unimaginable adversity, from tuberculosis as a young man, painful exile, and then he struggles to keep Nero in check, and then ultimately Nero turns against him, and Seneca is executed for plotting against him. But most of all, I think we can learn from Seneca about life. He says, it's not that life is short, it's that we waste a lot of it. Well, Seneca definitely didn't waste his life. He lived an epic, almost unimaginably interesting existence. I'm Ryan Holiday. I've written now 12 books about ancient philosophy. I've been studying and writing about Seneca for more than a decade. I've been lucky enough to talk about Seneca to the special forces, to sitting senators, to the NBA and the NFL and CEOs and everyone in between. I've learned a lot from Seneca. And in today's episode, I want to give you some lessons and some ideas from this great, complicated, confusing person that will hopefully make you better at everything you do, whatever situations you happen to find yourself in. There's a bunch of difficult things I try to do every day. I try to take a cold shower. I get up early. I intermittent fast. I try to do a really hard workout every day. I try to push myself physically so I can be better mentally. Seneca said we should treat the body rigorously so it's not disobedient to the mind. That's why a Stoic seeks out challenges. That's why you should go do hard things. Don't live an easy, soft life. Seek out challenges. 3 times in Seneca's life, he's devastated. He comes down with tuberculosis just as his legal career is taking off, and he has to spend 10 years convalescing. He comes back just as he begins to make it in politics. He's exiled by the emperor. And then late in life, he's exiled by another emperor. Repeatedly, Seneca is tried. He says, fortune behaves as she pleases. But what does he do in each one of these circumstances? He focuses on how he can respond. He makes good out of it. The Stoics practice negative visualization. Seneca says the unexpected blow lands most heavily. Part of the reason Seneca is able to endure this is that it's not a surprise. He says the most unacceptable excuse is, I did not think it could happen. You must always think of what can happen, and then you must always focus on how you're going to respond to what's happened. You don't choose your parents, Seneca says, but the truth is, you do get to choose whose child you want to be. This is extra true because Seneca's brother chooses to be adopted and changes his name to Gaio. He actually appears in the Bible. But the idea for the Stoics was you decide whose descendant you're going to be, whose footsteps you're going to follow in. This is also true with your friends. I saw this great meme that says you can't change your friends, but you can change your friends. Who are you going to surround yourself? Who are going to be the influences in your life? Who are the role models that you put up? Or the statues you put up? My office is filled with statues of people I admire, pictures of people that I admire, because they remind me who I want to be like, whose footsteps I'm following in, whose example I'm trying to emulate. So your influences matter. The proximity effect is real. You become like your friends. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This is all a way of saying that you choose whose children you're going to be. You choose what influences you're going to have in your life. The purpose of philosophy, Seneca says, is to make you better. He says it's to scrub off your flaws, not to make you more judgmental or make you feel superior to other people. It's called self-discipline. Nobody else signed up for it. You signed up for it. Your learning and your study and your self-improvement. You have to be sure that you're applying this only to yourself. The purpose of all this is to make you a better master of yourself. It's not to make you condescending or patronizing or controlling of other people. It's called self-discipline for a reason. It's your discipline over yourself. You'll leave everyone else and their mistakes and their way of doing things to them. Being great at something requires concentration. It requires elimination. Seneca says, he who is everywhere is nowhere. If you want to be great at whatever it is you're doing, it means focus. Everything you say yes to means saying no to something else. But conversely, when you say no to other things, when you say no to the inessential, the Stoics say, it allows you to say yes to double down on what truly is essential. So what are you saying no to so you can say yes to what matters? Seneca said that the body must be treated rigorously so that it is not disobedient to the mind. The idea, training, I just did my sprints and my kettlebell workout for Sunday. The idea is who's in charge? The little voice in your head that's telling you to quit, or the willpower that says, I'm gonna finish this, I have more in me. In running, you train at your T-pace to push your average threshold higher. You wanna get to a point where what was once hard for you is now easy or average. And that's why we train physically, mentally, spiritually, so that when adversity does come, we're ready. When the voice in our head tells us to quit, we know we don't have to listen. Seneca's an interesting philosopher because, again, he's not an academic. He's a playwright. He's a Roman senator. And he writes in this letter to a friend, one of his dear friends, he writes a letter about how he should think about death. And he says that the mistake is that we think of death as something in the future, something we're moving towards as time is passing. In fact, he says, death is happening right now. The time that's passed is owned by death. Instead of thinking that, for instance, I would be lucky enough to live into my late 70s, I should think instead that I've already died 32 years, right? Seneca says we are dying every day. We're dying every minute. You're dying sitting here listening to me talk, so I hope it's worth it. But we have to get better at managing this precious resource, Seneca is saying, that we fritter away our time. Meanwhile, we strongly and strictly guard our property and our money. But what's more renewable? You can always buy more property. You can always earn more money. What you can't ever do is find or create more time. Seneca says, happy is he who makes others better. I think that's what a Stoic is also. Not just a role model, but an inspiration, someone who makes others better by the example that they set, by the work that they do, by the good they do for their community, right? That's what Stoicism is about. Epictetus says, don't talk about your philosophy, embody it. You make others better by being your best self. But this is the benefit. You also make yourself happy because you see the good that you're doing in the world, in the people around you. And this is why the Stoics are working so hard all the time. Seneca, one of the wisest people who ever lived, he said, look, you don't need to go to school. You don't need to be a genius. You don't need a tutor. He said, you just need to find one thing every day that makes you better. A story, a quote, an idea, something that makes you better. That's how the path to wisdom is walked. Every day for 5 years, I've written this daily Stoic email. It's totally free, but it's built around that idea. Just one Stoic quote, one story, one insight every single day that will make you a little bit better. I get better for writing it. People get better for reading it. I hope you check it out.